Tama is an idiot knight who died to some bums, but his life changes when he is reincarnated as a kitty cat stronger than Saitama and becomes a pet to a busty elf mommy. Tama wakes up inside a labyrinth, and all he remembers is that he died after getting stabbed by a demon's blade. He has been reincarnated as an S-rank behemoth that is able to destroy nations in a single night, like how your mom rocked my world in one night. As an ex-knight, he feels conflicted about being reincarnated as a world-threatening monster, but when he looks at his own reflections, he sees that he is now a stupid-ass cat. While it surprises him, he chooses to accept it. A bum E-rank Rimuru pops up, wanting to eat him. Tama checks his skills and uses one of them to attack the slime, and being hungry, Tama has no choice but to bite the slime, but to his surprise, it tastes sweeter than your daddy's baby batter. Just then, he realizes that he can keep the skills of the creatures he eats and even store them for later, so he goes on his little food hunt. Tama faces various monsters, from flying lizards to rock monsters that look like my ex without makeup, and after he eats them, he gets their skills. On his quest, he walks into a treasure chest and gets excited to see a red crystal inside it. But just like any Souls game, it turns out to be a trap, and it transports him to the top of an S-rank Earth Dragon. Tama launches an attack which is deflected and creates an opening for him. The dragon attacks back, and while Tama tries to defend himself, it still manages to hit him, causing him to bleed. Just as the dragon is about to finish the job, Tama manages to counter and flies to the opening in the cave to escape his death. Meanwhile, somewhere in the city, an elf thicker than your sister, Aria, is starting her day as an adventurer. She rides a boat to the labyrinth's entrance, and when the guards stop her, she shows them her pendant which gives her access inside. There she pulls out her dual sword, and it reminds Aria of her past when she once saw a female warrior carrying the same weapon against demons. Back with the kitty, Tama is close to the exit when he collapses due to the loss of blood, but before he gets another reincarnation as an emo boy stuck inside a wall created by titans, Aria sees him and goes to save him. Tama wakes up bandaged and inside Aria's house where she takes care of him. He folds seeing such a beautiful elf with glorious mommy milkers and realizes that Aria doesn't know that he is an S-rank behemoth. For days, Aria takes care of Tama, feeds him, nurtures him, and even sleeps with him until he fully heals. Then she leaves to go to the labyrinth, but after what she did for him, Tama devotes himself to protecting Aria, so he goes to follow her. In the labyrinth, he tails her, worrying she will end up like the girls in Goblin Slayer. But when she does meet some goblins, Aria easily defeats them and takes their ears, which surprises Tama. Just then, another goblin pops up, and while Aria is confident, it turns out to be a goblin mage who shoots fire at her. She stands frozen, but because Tama can't expose his overpowered abilities, he pushes her out of the way and claws the goblin's clapped face, causing it to fall to his death. Aria can't believe that Tama saved her, so on their way back, she caresses his body, which makes Tama very happy. Then they go to the guild where after stepping inside, a dude with a yee-ass haircut, Cussman, tries to raise Aria into his party so they can make elf babies, but Tama bites his hand, stopping him from diddling Aria. Cussman throws Tama away, but when he falls, he uses his claw to rearrange his face. It angers Cussman and makes him want to make cat stew, but before he does anything, Anna, the terrifying ladyboy who is the guild receptionist, stops Cussman, and when he threatens Cussman that he will clap his cheeks, Cussman runs away in fear. Anna praises Tama for saving Aria, and after he saves her twice, Aria declares that from now on, Tama will officially be her cat, which Tama is very happy about. Then she plays with him and his fur, but as she's getting close to caress Tama's baby jewels, Tama purrs and creams. Later, while being drunk, Aria, looking like a snack, tells Tama to bathe with her. At first, Tama declares that he won't do it, but after folding, he bathes with her and her two massive floaties. Just then, she vents about how she wants to be strong and tells the story of her past. Aria informs Tama about how demons attacked her village, but they were saved by an elf sword saint, Alicia, who became Aria's role model, and after hearing this, Tama snuggles with her. The next day, Aria and Tama go to the guild where Anna warns them to go home. Just then, Cussman pops up and shows an order to put down Tama after he clawed his face. However, he challenges Aria to a duel, and that if she wins, Tama will stay alive, but if she loses, she will become his baby mama. It surprises everyone, and without any option, Aria accepts his challenge. That night, The whole city watches the duel between the C-rank Cussman and the D-rank Area. But feeling generous, Cussman offers Area to pick anyone to help her against him. When nobody steps up, Cussman laughs, but suddenly, Tama himself steps up to the plate as Area's partner, ready to clap Cussman from life. Tama attacks first, but quickly realizes that it's difficult to defeat Cussman without his skills. Area sees this chance to attack, but Cussman dodges her and kicks her, which causes a bruise. She continues trying every attack she knows, but Cussman easily counters her every move, knowing that he's close to being Area's primary source of baby batter. He manages to get Area down, declaring that he is the winner, and Tama, on the sidelines, is questioning whether he should use his skills and show himself to the world. When Cussman attacks, Tama uses his skill to deflect him and yeets him away, causing his own sword to stab into his meat sword. It surprises everyone to see this cat so powerful, and while Tama realizes that his life is over, he feels no regret for saving his precious master. However, they celebrate him for being an elemental cat and not a behemoth, and they announce that Area is the winner. From that day forth, Tama, who is an evil S-class behemoth, is now the pet of a busty elf girl. The next morning, Tama wakes up next to Area, and wanting to pamper her, Tama licks her elf ear. And realizing she almost drools from her lower lips, Tama jumps off the bed, but it does nothing as Area pulls him back in to lick her ears some more. Later, they go to the armory and meet with the busty blacksmith, Vulcan. She feels excited to see the legendary cat, Tama, and they play around with him, and here, Tama feels blessed to be reborn as a cat surrounded by milky jugs. Just then, Vulcan asks Area why she's here, and she tells Vulcan that she wants her to make armor for Tama. Excited, Vulcan spends her day and night building the armor, and the next day, Tama is dripped out in his new swag. However, she informs Area that her request to make her sword lighter cannot be done, and while it saddens Area, Vulcan has an idea. She asks Area to form a temporary party with her so she can watch Area firsthand in battle to figure out the issue. Then they spend their time fighting goblins in the labyrinth, and being the muscle mommy that she is, Vulcan easily defeats her portion of goblins. Just then, an orc pops up, wanting both of the girls' cheeks, and when Area goes to attack, the orc easily counters her, so Tama has to step in to help Area defeat the orc as her moves are now readable by the enemy. However, Vulcan sees the weakness in Area's movement and informs her that the next enemy they'll face will be perfect for her practice. They meet a roper, and when Tama sees their opponent, he fears that this will end with the girls in hot bondage. Vulcan tells Area that she will be forced to change her moves against them, and when Area goes to attack them, she is proven right as the roper easily counters Area's fast movements. Just then, Vulcan throws Area dual knives, and when using them, Area manages to move faster than ever before. Here, Vulcan points out that Area fits better with knives in her hands, and using her speed, slashes the other roper, causing the monster to excrete white cream, causing Area to know beforehand what a night with Johnny Sins feels like. It angers Tama that she got creamed on her face, and she blitzes through the roper with ease, impressing both Vulcan and Tama. With the roper defeated, Tama takes a bite to absorb its skill, and while it tastes like your mother's juices, Tama manages to learn new skills. Meanwhile, Area is continuously stabbing the dead monster for what it did to her, stating that only Tama can defile her face. From then on, despite her infatuation with the Sword Saint, Area declares that she will become stronger not using swords, but knives. Then they enter a hot spring in the middle of the labyrinth, and Vulcan calms them down, stating that the Philosopher's Stone protects them from danger. The stone brings Area back to her past, reminding her of when her village got attacked. Area tells Tama to join the bath, showing him just how much plot she carries, and while Tama initially convinces himself that he won't fold, he joins them and their beautiful puppies in the hot bath. Area asks Vulcan what happened to her last party, and she informs them that her old party broke up after 2 members clapped cheeks, causing one of the members to get pregnant. It brings Vulcan to Area's party and informs her that elemental cats like Tama can crossbreed, and when Tama checks his new skills from the roper, he sees that he can make half-cat, half-elf babies with Area. While he convinces himself that he won't do it, Area gets excited over that idea, telling Tama to grow big quickly and show her the big dog inside of his little cat's body. Then they face a Minotaur, and despite her speed, Area's power is not enough to defeat it. However, Area continues attacking the Minotaur with her speed, impressing Tama, and manages to damage the Minotaur. Suddenly, the roof collapses, and just before it sends Vulcan to another world, Tama saves her, causing her to fold. Aria defeats the Minotaur, while Vulcan can't believe just how manly Tama is after saving her, and she wants to join the harem. Later, they bring the Minotaur's head back to the guild, where Anna congratulates Aria for her new weapon, and they celebrate. They drink alcohol like a fish, and it reminds Tama of the times he celebrated after defeating a quest. Just then, Vulcan asks if they want to form a real party with her, and while Aria is a little hesitant, Tama takes her hand to join Vulcan's hand, and they form a party for real. Weeks later, Tama finds himself stuck between the two sleeping girls' melons, where they both talk in their sleep about wanting to make cat babies with Tama, but being the honorable knight, Tama distracts himself by looking at his stats. There, he finds that he can evolve his cat form to the next stage and steps closer to becoming a true behemoth, but not wanting to destroy the peaceful life he has now with Aria, he decides to ignore it unless it's necessary. The next day, Aria and Tama find two bandits bullying a girl and want to sell her kidneys, and when Aria steps up, the two want the smoke. However, when they see the legendary cat, Tama, on her shoulders, they both apologize before running away. Aria comforts the little girl, and she introduces herself as Lala, who lost both her parents. Aria takes her to a church filled with orphans, and they are all stoked to see Aria. She meets up with the nun to hand Lala in her care, and the nun tells Aria how happy they have been since Aria has been coming to visit them, and here, Tama promises to himself that he will always support her. Later, while looking at some rice cakes, the party heads to the guild where Anna congratulates Aria for reaching the C rank as an adventurer. Just then, they see a crowd on the quest board as they all are looking at the emergency quest. Anna informs them that people have been missing in the town of Reinald and that the culprits might be demons. It surprises all of them, but being the noble warrior with big jugs, Aria asks Anna to tell her more information. Just then, a knight named Cedric pulls up to explain the situation, and everyone in the guild is in awe of his hotness and how much of a Chad he is. While he's making everyone simp for him, Tama recognizes Cedric as a great mage who once made a name for himself during Ragnarok, a great battle between humans and demons, and that Cedric's presence gave humanity the edge to gain their victory. Aria worries that even with Cedric on their side, they won't be enough for the demons, but Anna, while glazing Cedric's sweat, assures her that with Big Daddy Cedric on their side, they will win, and here the girls realize that Cedric prefers to get clapped by dudes instead of a girl's sweet cheeks. The next morning before heading to battle, Tama can sense that his master, Aria, is nervous, so he gives her a lick that gets her in the mood. She thanks him for the lick, and to return the favor, she kisses Tama on the lips, which makes him fold and makes PTA call the FBI. Then, under Cedric's lead, they start the mission, and the party consisting of Danny, Howard, Kenny, and Marietta introduce themselves to Tama and the girls. They are in awe of Tama, the elemental cat. The girls are ogling over how cute he is and putting him in positions that would make us wish we were cats. Just then, the carriage stops, and they are faced with fat and slimy orcs that look like you. Cedric calls out for Danny, and when he steps up, he easily slices them into bacon for breakfast. It amazes Aria to see Danny's skill, and they inform him that Danny didn't use any skill to handle the orcs, which amazes her even more. That night, they reach the village of Reinald, and when the chief informs them that more people are disappearing due to the demons, it reminds Aria of her dark past when demons attacked her village. Then they eat dinner as a party, and Aria asks them why they become knights. Some of them state that they need to pay debts, while others want to get rich and be Andrew Tate. Cedric tells them that after he was disowned by his family for liking glizzies more than roast beefs, he became a knight to make a living. Aria apologizes for her question, but they assure her it's fine as they got to live their dreams. Later, the girls prepare themselves for a bath, and as a cat, the girls force Tama to join them and clean himself. Despite being an honorable knight, Tama, even as a cat, can't help himself but fold when he sees the girls clean their kitty. As Aria has the biggest melons, the girls can't help themselves but want to play with them. But next door, the non-glizzy-loving dudes, Danny and Howard, can't help themselves but want to peek after hearing Aria's happy noises. However, before they get to even see the sweet cheeks, Tama stops them and yeets them away. Later, the party enters a dungeon, and unbeknownst to them, someone is watching them closely and plans to eliminate them. He sends an army of werewolves against them, but the party easily defeats them. However, Tama showcases his water shooting skills, which blasts a hole through the werewolves, and shows this party that this cat is packing the biggest in this crew. It shocks the watcher to see how powerful Tama is, but has more plans waiting for them. After seeing her cat's ability, Aria starts tweaking and states how much she wants Tama to make her kitty purr, and Tama can only accept his fate. Later, they face the Watcher, Beryl, who was part of the demon clan that the humans made extinct. He creates a magic wall to divide them and sends his A-class troll to eliminate them, and among the magic walls, Tama is alone as Beryl specifically targets him. Tama tries using his power to chop off an arm, but the troll easily grows another one, and here Tama realizes that he's in trouble. Meanwhile, Cedric and his party are also facing trolls, but unlike Tama, Cedric uses his special sword that manages to slice through the troll easily while laughing like a maniac, and Beryl recognizes that Cedric is using dark magic. Back with Tama, he is cornered right in front of a concerned area, but he looks to his arsenal and uses fire attacks to defeat the trolls. While they manage to heal their wounds, Tama keeps spamming his fireball attacks like a video game and roasts the trolls he's facing. While Beryl can't believe what he's facing, Vulcan tries to attack him from behind, and when Beryl manages to dodge her attacks, Aria pops up from the back and stabs Beryl. Her blade starts glowing, which causes tremendous pain on Beryl, but he returns a favor and slices Aria with a poison blade before he collapses. Aria falls down due to the poison while Beryl promises that he will have his revenge. The party quickly takes Aria back to the village, and the doctor informs them that Aria only has 12 hours before he meets Ace. They can't believe what they're hearing and demand that there's a way out. The doctor informs them that to counter a dragon's poison, they will need an S-ranked Earth Dragon's Eye to create the antidote. While the group wants to save her, Cedric informs them that they have to stay calm as they don't know the location of an Earth Dragon, but Tama does, and he flies away leaving all of them. In his mind, he is determined to save his Busty elf master, even if it costs him his life, so he flies to the labyrinth. There he faces the Earth Dragon that once almost took his life, but this time, Tama comes prepared for a fight and transforms himself into his second form, a full-fledged behemoth. The two monsters trade blows, but the dragon sees its opening and bites Tama in the neck. The dragon initially thinks that it has won, but Tama sees this chance, and using his tail, slashes the dragon's head. Suddenly, Tama returns to his cat form, realizing that there's a limit to his transformation, but he doesn't care much and quickly stores the dragon before flying back to his master. Back in the city, Aria is in critical condition, and the party is crying, ready for her death. However, they feel the ground shakes, and when they go outside, they find a dragon with Tama on top of it as its slayer. On the bed, Aria dreams about her demon-filled past where demons attacked her homeland to look for the Philosopher's Stone, and when she was confronted, she fell on her knees and wet herself. Just then, an elemental cat saved her, and from then on, she fell in love with cats. With the dragon's eye in hand, they manage to heal Aria, and while it takes some time for her to heal completely, everyone celebrates her safety. Meanwhile, Tama heads back to the dungeon, and on his way there, he sees that he's unable to turn back into the behemoth, and he doesn't know why. However, he wants to test the new dragon skills he got from defeating the Earth Dragon, and when he meets a bull that looks like the guy clapping your mom while your dad watches, Tama blitzes the bull and destroys him. Just then, a girl pops up from inside the labyrinth, calling Tama the Strong One, and while Tama doesn't know who she is, the girl wants one thing, and that is Tama's baby batter. Tama runs away, but the girl keeps chasing him, begging him to breed her, but Tama just manages to escape her freaky grasp. Tama goes back home to sleep between Aria's melons, but still remembering the freaky girl, he sees the resemblance between her and the Earth Dragon. The next day, Aria dresses up herself and Tama to go on a picnic together. They breathe in the fresh air, and after hearing what happened, Aria thanks Tama for defeating the Earth Dragon for her. She tells him about how she feels weak as a warrior and recalls her dark past. With the elemental cat protecting her from the demons, she was a goner, but the cat's master, the Sword Saint, showed up to defeat the demons and saved Aria. From then, Aria left home to follow the Sword Saint's footsteps of becoming stronger, saying goodbye to her even bustier elf mother. But now, Aria cries as, after all her experience, she is still weak. Tama cheers her up by snuggling next to her, and Aria thanks him for his support. The next day, after getting a hefty commission for the battle, Aria spends her money to get herself and Tama armor at Vulcan's armory. They put it on, and despite Aria looking like she's supposed to be in the red light district, Vulcan assures her that she's wearing armor that Erza Scarlet herself would be jealous of. To test them out, they go to the labyrinth for an adventure, but before stepping further, Tama gives them the Divine Lion's protection, which gives them a buff, and Aria understands that it's because Tama is worried for her. Then they face a goblin in the labyrinth, and with both the new armor and Tama's buff, Aria easily defeats the goblin. Just then, from the darkness, the freak pops up, and while Tama is frightened, the girls think that she's an adventurer. They ask her who she is, but when all she does is yapping about how she wants to squeeze out Tama's baby batter, they assume she has extreme amnesia. The crazy girl demands Tama breed her, but Aria stops her and tells her that Tama is only for her, and she can't believe how good the elf cheeks must be that a strong behemoth would fold. Aria declares that she will be taking care of her, and while this crazy chick doesn't understand, she agrees anyway as all she cares about is to be with Tama's baby jewels. While Tama is scared for his baby maker, Aria assures him that she will protect him. On their way back, they name her Stella, and when Tama thinks about how pretty the name is, Stella can hear his thoughts. Then, they take Stella to a bath where they clean her smelly armpits that smell worse than the viewers watching. But when she enters the hot bath, she jumps inside as she never felt warm water before. Then, when Aria washes Tama, Stella gets jealous and demands that she also get to touch Tama, but Aria rejects her as Tama's master. That night, when Aria is asleep, Stella tells Tama to wake up, and Tama realizes that Stella is using telepathy to talk to her. Stella reveals herself as the Earth Dragon, shocking Tama, and that for her whole life she has always won her battles, but when she got defeated by Tama, she reincarnated herself and promised to be with someone strong. Tama asks her what her current goal is, thinking that it's revenge, but Stella acknowledges her defeat to an alpha male like Tama, and she now wants nothing more than to create half-dragon, half-cat babies with him. She jumps him, but Aria stops her and saves Tama from getting creamed. Aria makes her intentions clear that she is not sharing Tama's baby maker with her, and while Stella recognizes she lost, she tells Tama through telepathy that she loves him. But hearing that, Tama can't help but get worried for his Willy. The next morning, they have breakfast together and Stella eats the food like a rabid dog, but through telepathy, she asks Tama what Aria really is after only seeing how kind she is. When Tama expresses how Aria is his master, Stella is taken aback. Just then, Tama asks Stella not to tell Aria that he's a behemoth so she won't see him as a monster, but Stella tells Tama that he has to clap her 24/7 if he wants her mouth shut. While Tama is scared, Stella tells him she's joking and that her pride will only let her win over Tama's heart fair and square. They go around the town and Stella expresses how unbelievable Aria is to be able to tame Tama as her pet. Tama understands how she thinks, and that is due to how monsters see strength above everything. She sees Aria as someone amazing. Just then, Aria suggests that they should go on an adventure, and Stella shows her excitement for it. Then, they take her to Vulcan's armory to get some armor, and Stella wears armor that makes her look like talentless thirst traps in cosplay events. They ask her about her hands that have no protection, but Stella shows her hands transformed and a tail grows to show her dragon-like limbs. Not knowing she's a real dragon, the girls think that Stella is a dragonute, a human who can transform body parts into a dragon. Then Stella chooses her weapons, but instead of picking the ones on the front, she goes to the back and picks up a huge shield. It surprises Vulcan to see someone carry that shield one-handed, and it surprises Tama even more to see her focus more on her defense. Stella tells him that ever since her defeat to him, she cared more for her defense, and that her defeat to him taught her both love and strength. After the shield, she picks up a giant sword, and with this, they start the adventure. They enter the labyrinth, and while the others are calculative, Stella goes ahead looking for enemies. She finds some goblins who are chilling, and without using her weapons, she slashes them using her dragon claws. But when a goblin tries to backstab her, she uses her sword to cut the goblin to pieces, making Goblin Slayer proud. But not as proud as I am if you subscribe into this channel and busts a fat one to these elf melons. Tama feels fear seeing how strong Stella is, hoping that she won't go on a dark path, but Aria sees the bright side of this and encourages the others to support Stella whenever she fights recklessly. Stella expresses how much she wants to face tougher opponents, and while Aria agrees to take her to tougher monsters, she asks Stella to be careful, but Stella assures her that she will be fine. Then they take her to a lower level to face some orcs, and Stella easily uses her shield to ram through these piggies with ease. Even though they acknowledge her strength, they worry that Stella won't be able to handle the next level. There they face a roper, and while they try to warn Stella, she just rushes the monster without care. Tama informs Stella that this monster is every man's wet dream whenever it uses its tentacle to enter the girl's plot holes, but Stella charges at it. She gets herself stuck to the tentacles and her body gets sprayed by the monster's white cream. It causes her to start tweaking and resorting to her dragon instincts to fight recklessly. Tama sees the potential bad outcome and uses his roper skills to summon her own tentacles, pulls back the girls, and defeats the roper using his tentacles and high-pressured water. Using telepathy, Tama scolds Stella for losing her cool, and Stella tells Tama that she still has trauma from her defeat to him. Tama tells her not to be afraid as he is there to protect her, and Stella folds to his Riz, stating that hearing this from the one she loves almost makes her drip from her lower lips. Stella tells Vulcan that she wants to learn to use her weapons more, and it gives Vulcan hope to create a strong party. Hearing the word party reminds Stella of all the times she faced against them, and she expresses her excitement to now be a part of one. Meanwhile, Aria approaches Tama intending to make babies, expressing how much pleasure she feels getting squeezed by his tentacles, and Tama feels worried about his baby maker, but Vulcan puts a top to their degeneracy. Then they discuss their strategy, and they decide that Stella will act as their tank due to her massive weapons and even more massive melons. They face more orcs in the labyrinth, and just like a tank, Stella fights in the front line to draw in the attacks, but she gets too excited and leaves everyone behind. As the support, Tama gives the girls some buff, and they chase after Stella. Later, they run into a hot spring, so they take a dip inside. While Tama promises not to peek as an honorable knight, Aria pulls him inside to wash him on her melons. Stella and Vulcan watch in jealousy, also wanting to have Tama on their melons, but Stella has enough and confronts Aria. She tells Aria that because she's actually weaker than she is, Tama deserves to be with someone stronger. But Aria refuses to lose, stating that Tama prefers her elf melons to her crusty lizard milkers. They start arguing with each other with Tama stuck between their heaven's pillows, and it causes him to get yeeted high up in the sky. Later, they bring Stella to Anna to register her as an adventurer. But before Anna does that, he introduces someone to them. Out comes Reese, who is here to ask Aria for a personal request, and that he needs her and her party to protect a precious cargo. Vulcan informs them that she can't leave her shop, but Aria understands her decision. Stella asks Reese what cargo he's talking about, and he brings them to his private storage. There he presents them with the Earth Dragon skeleton he won at an auction, which is Stella's skeleton. It surprises Stella to see this, but instead of fear, she starts tweaking as she feels tingly inside after seeing her own corpse. Before Aria starts her mission, Anna hands Aria her new badge as a B-rank adventurer. The next morning, Tama and the crew go on a journey to protect Stella's precious cargo for Reese, and they create a camp for the night to rest. Reese hands Aria beautiful flowers, but unlike other creepy old dudes who diddle around, he doesn't try to raise up Aria and is loyal to his wife. Aria asks Reese why he brought the dragon's corpse, and he informs them that his merchant friend told him that a big war is coming. It reminds Tama of what the demon told them, and it makes him worry. That night, while they're sleeping, Tama wakes up feeling uneasy, and when he looks outside, the landscape has changed into a forest, only leaving the road and their camp untouched. Reese hurries them to get away by riding the carriage and informs them that a new labyrinth was formed here, which is something unheard of to them. After escaping, they set up a new camp, and Reese asks if they want to explore the new labyrinth, which they do as new labyrinths are the dream of adventurers. Then they enter the labyrinth, and Tama buffs their defense just in case, but it makes Stella reckless and charges by herself. Needing to control her, Aria pulls out a note Vulcan made her. It tells Stella to not split up and that she will get to hug Tama once. Stella accepts the offer happily and chooses to cooperate. Just then, a talking red light pops up telling them to follow her to a treasure. But when she lures them in, Tama and the girls get ambushed by apes that look like your ugly mother. With Stella as the tank, she takes the damage while Aria defeats the ape with ease. Suddenly, the bushes start moving and talking, asking Tama and the girls not to leave. From the bushes, out comes a green-haired creature, fairy, and a Walmart Tinkerbell Lily. When Stella asks, Aria explains that they are fairies who live in forest labyrinths. The two fairies pick up Tama to show this kitty some love, and they caress Tama from head to toe like they own him. But it makes Stella jealous, who is owed a creamy cuddle session with Tama. The fairies explain that they just wanted to befriend Tama, and to show their hospitality, they show them a treasure box. Inside, Aria finds a pretty potion, and they thank the fairies for it, but the fairies inform them that there are more treasures in the labyrinth and that they need to retrieve a key that is located on a tree surrounded by wasps. The team goes for it, and despite the wasps' best attempts, they easily defeat these dumb bugs and retrieve the key. The fairies tell Aria that the key opens the labyrinth boss room and that the treasure is there, but not wanting to be reckless, Aria wants her team to retreat to the city first, which annoys the fairies. They want Tama and the girls to defeat the boss for excitement, but when Aria refuses, the fairies ask to come with them to the city. When they get there, the fairies get excited, but Aria scolds them, telling them that as fairies they are rare and a lot of people would diddle around them if they get the chance. However, the fairies go and eat at a vendor, not caring about paying, but while Aria pays for it, she doesn't get mad at the fairies as she knows they have no experience in a city. Later, they show the potion to Rias, and he informs them that it's called the Teardrop of Truth, where whoever drinks it will spill out their deepest secret. Just then, the two fairies barge in, and when Rias sees them, he gets taken aback and changes his tone before quickly excusing himself without any explanation. Later, the girls take a bath together, and while Tama watches, the girls play hide and seek to look for Aria's pepperonas among the fog while making happy noises, making all of us wish we were all cats. Before bed, Stella wants to cuddle with Tama when he rejects her, but because of her good work, Aria orders Tama to let Stella hold him. Tama follows her order, and Stella happily caresses Tama like he's a doll. Meanwhile, Vulcan is on their way to back up Aria when a bell rings, and from behind, a skeleton monster attacks her, but she easily whacks it. It confuses her with how easy it is, and when she looks back, she sees someone running away after stalking her. Back with Tama, he and the girls go back to the labyrinth and use the key to face the boss, leaving the fairies outside the battle. When they enter, they face a monster, and as a tank, Stella leads the way while the others attack, but Aria almost gets herself smushed if it wasn't for Stella who protects her. She encourages them to attack while she defends, and using her dragon strength, she manages to hold the monster in place. It gives Tama a shot to use his fireball. He ties up the monster to give Aria an opening, and she uses her speed and blade to defeat the boss. After it falls, a treasure chest appears, and inside is a scroll consisting of an ancient text. When Aria reads it, it gives her an upgrade in the form of a holy blade for her weaponry. When they step outside to find the fairies, they find their snacks spilled on the floor, and the fairies gone. Meanwhile, Reese is ringing his bell, the same bell Vulcan heard, and while looking at a picture of his late wife, he asks her to patiently wait for him. Back with Tama, he and the girls go look for the fairies, but when they fail to find them, they go back to the city with their tails between their legs. They find Vulcan in the tavern waiting for them, and they inform her of what happened to the fairies. They plan to look around the city, but before they get to leave, an old creep pops up, demanding their attention. He glances at each and every one of the girls' juicy melons before telling them that the Earl of Gladstone requests for their presence in his palace. Aria and Stella try to tell this old fart to go choke on a dude's sausage, but Vulcan stops them and states that they will come with him, and the old man waits for them in the carriage. They ask her why she accepted the invite, and she tells them that there's a rumor. In the carriage, Vulcan informs them that there is a rumor that the Earl likes to kidnap pretty girls, and she believes that the fairies might be kidnapped by him. When they arrive, they meet the Earl, who looks like an uglier Majin Buu, and he declares that the girls will now be his lovers. The old man brings them some tea, and while the Earl insists that they drink it, the girls hesitate. However, Aria drinks anyway while Tama activates his protection magic on all the girls, and when the girls are not knocked out, the Earl is confused about why the drugs didn't work. Stella lifts him up in anger, asking him where the fairies are, but Aria calms her down, asking her not to use violence. However, the Earl starts tweaking, saying how these girls are demons, and he summons his guards to take them out. While Aria tries calming down everyone, the Earl wants nothing but to dispose of these bimbos. Suddenly, one of his men informs him that the town is being attacked by the undead and that they need to evacuate. The Earl gladly does it, not caring about his people, but Aria orders her team to help the townspeople from getting clapped by the undead. In the town, they help the people evacuate while they also handle the undead as a team. In an alleyway, a stupid little girl is about to get murked by a skeleton, but Vulcan saves her and carries her on her back. She tells Aria and Vulcan that they need to find the person who summoned the undead, and they decide to split up. On their search, Aria and Vulcan hear a bell ring, and when they follow it, they find Rice as the necromancer mastermind behind this. He tells them that he wants revenge against the Earl who took his wife's life, and he summons an army of skeletons. He reveals that he's capable of summoning that much because of using the fairy's powers, and Tama realizes that the bell is the one that made the fairies obedient. Reese drains even more power from the fairy, not caring about Aria's pleads for him to stop, and he summons the skeleton of the earth dragon, Stella's old body. Tama and Stella try attacking the dragon, and while they do damage, the dragon easily heals its wounds. However, when Aria attacks the dragon using her holy blade, she manages to do unrepairable damage, but it takes a lot of her energy. So Tama tells Stella that they have to buy Aria time and save the fairies so Aria can use all her powers at once. Meanwhile, the townspeople are defending themselves when Vulcan pops in with the little stupid girl on her back, and she's there to give them backup. Back with Tama, he and Stella attack the dragon using everything they have, and with his tentacles, Tama manages to save the fairies while making an opening for Aria. With her holy blade in hand, she goes for the attack and the others join in to help them, and they finish off the dumb dead lizard as a team. Rias can't believe his defeat, and while Aria tries giving him the Naruto Talk no Jutsu, he still refuses to stop until the Earl is dead. However, when he rings his bell again, only one of the skeletons walks towards him, and when he looks closely, he realizes that it's his clapped wife, Eliza. She goes full Rin to Rain's Obito, and she manages to make Reese give up on his mission and convince him to atone for his sins before leaving. Then all the skeletons disappear, and the next day, the city prepares a guillotine for Rice's punishment. Before that, Aria pays the Earl a visit, and when she offers him some tea, promising that her sweet milk is in it, the Earl gladly drinks it like a degenerate. Then the whole town watches Reyes in the guillotine to have his head taken off, and before his head is clapped, the Earls ask Reyes about his motive. Reese declares that he wants revenge against the Earl for taking his wife's life, but suddenly, the Earl gladly admits in front of everyone that he did clap Eliza's life. He starts panicking, wondering what's going on, but Aria keeps questioning him about his crimes, and the Earl admits how he has been going full Diddy on the girls in town. Aria tells him that she spiked the Earl's tea with the teardrops of truth, and the whole town beat the Earl up, taking turns like dudes in prison. Afterward, both Earl and his right-hand man go to prison while Reese gets off his death sentence and gets to face jail in peace. Meanwhile, Tama is busy doing important stuff, bathing with the girls like a cultured Chad, and the girls take turns washing him on their melons, making all of us wish we were him. Comment down below, creamy milk tea, if you finished the video. Next week we will be back with a new recap of the latest episode. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.